Through all of this, I never doubted that my parents loved me. They acted based on their sincerely held beliefs at the time, which have changed dramatically. We have a good relationship today, and they understand my purpose in writing this. There are two ways to listen to this book: as a story about a cult or a young woman's personal story. If you're interested in the latter, feel free to skip the history section and jump straight into my story, beginning with Chapter 1. You can always go back to the history later if questions come up about the cult. I write about my experiences from my perspective at each age, so you can peek into my mind and see how I saw the world and my family through the lens of the cult's beliefs. My understanding of my experiences shifts with each realization I gain. Thank you for coming with me on this wild and crazy journey to its final destination: freedom. True liberation is in the mind. Faith Jones, March 2021. A not-so-brief history of my family and the children of God. 4 generations of evangelists. My father is a 4th-generation evangelist. His great-grandfather, John Lincoln Brandt of Muskogee, Oklahoma, was a Baptist minister who moved between churches in Denver, Toledo, Valparaiso, and St. Louis. Later, he became a leader in the Campbellite movement, now known as the Disciples of Christ, building and pastoring churches across the United States and around the world. His travels took him to Canada, Mexico, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and the Pacific Islands. He was also the author of over 20 books and a lecturer. His daughter, Virginia, my father's grandmother, was also a famous preacher. She was the nation's first female radio evangelist with her program, Meditation Moments, which started in Miami, Florida in the 1930s. She was a prominent evangelist and revivalist who drew crowds of thousands at her evangelistic tabernacle events across America. But her dedication to Jesus came later in life. Although she had been raised a Christian, her faith was shaken with the loss of her mother when she was in her early 20s, and for a time she declared herself agnostic. It took a miracle to bring her back into the fold. After giving birth to her first child, Yalmar Jr., she fell and broke her back in 2 places, leaving her in terrible pain and often bedridden. Several surgeries failed to correct the problem, and doctors ultimately diagnosed her condition as untreatable. But her husband, Yalmar Berg, an evangelical minister, kept praying over her. My great-grandmother's miracle healing. One afternoon, in pain and at the end of her strength, Virginia called out to God for help. A scripture came to her. Whatever you desire, when you pray, believe you will receive them, and you will have them. Mark, chapter 11, verse 24. She said, I believe. At that moment, as the story goes, she was miraculously healed and rose from her bed. Yalmar ministered to a small congregation in Northern California, and she shared her testimony there the following morning. Soon, speaking invitations started pouring in, and Virginia's reputation and following began to grow. Preaching about miraculous healing was against her church's doctrine, but Virginia and Yalmar refused to keep quiet and were ultimately expelled from the Disciples of Christ. Subsequently, they joined the Christian and Missionary Alliance, an evangelical Protestant denomination with a heavy emphasis on